Hello everyone and welcome back to de.influenced, the spot where my goal is to get you guys to think critically about where you're currently spending your social media currency. And I do that by revealing the truth behind the highlight reels of today's popular social media influencers. Today we are doing a follow-up on Kay and Tay because after I filmed the last episode, I don't know, there was just some ick vibes going on, and a lot of people reached out and said, watch the Matt and Abby podcast. That's where they reveal that she has a 12-year-old where she throws her ex under the bus and a whole bunch of other things. And apparently Kay's behavior, scratch that, reverse it, Tay's behavior is really off-putting during the entire video. So with so many people reaching out saying you gotta watch it, guess we gotta watch it. Let's go, guys. I believe I have watched this before. It's been months. It was probably when it first dropped. I think I watched DCP react to it and his video on it. I don't know. I am excited to go into it again, though, now having dug into these people a little bit more because, yikes, wow, arrests and charges dropped, but and people are saying that you can kind of see how uncomfortable Tay is throughout this video. And there's just, I don't know, there's some icky things that I've just been picking up on. It's probably not been another incident since 2019. Maybe she was going crazy, but I don't know. I don't think it makes sense the way she tried to explain it away and with what was going on and stuff like that. And yeah, we'll talk more about it after we watch the podcast. This is going to be like a half blind react because I don't remember anything. I remember them sitting there and I remember the baby being in the bouncer and bouncing the whole time because I'm very easily distracted. So if something's moving, well, that's what's going to grab my attention. But I don't remember them talking about things. And now that we know more information, now that DCP released the mugshot and we know now that things aren't all shiny happy behind, I think it'll be really valuable to go back and take another look at them being interviewed and talking about the uncomfortable stuff. Get myself plugged in. All right, this is an hour and 10 minutes long. That's unfortunate. Do they have chapters? I gotta go back and find it. Oh, they do. Okay. Wait, where's the chapters? Why we eloped, finding love after divorce. You were together in 2014, the year you got divorced. What do you mean finding love after? Okay, let's see what she has to say. Becoming a single mom at 22. At 22. How old are they? She's born in 92 as well? Guys, I'm not about this. I'm not about this. I don't like that birthday at all for many different reasons. Okay, so 10 years ago? 2024, 22. Oh, that's when I became a mom. Fun fact. Weird. Okay. Also, becoming a single mom at 20, you didn't have your kid full time. You barely saw her. So Okay. Also, I got my haircut, guys. I know you saw it last episode, but I got it finished cut because you guys are going to think I go for a haircut every 3 days. No, I go once every 2 years. But yeah, it's so short and floofy and flowy and a bit of a mess because I haven't washed it since my haircut. Because who wants to wash their hair after they get a haircut? And then it's never the same again. Am I right? I'm right. I know I'm right. Okay, finding out my wife cheated on me. Red flags in an abusive relationship. I feel like that's a good timestamp. We didn't think we could have kids. Having a newborn at 30. It's not that deep. You're only 30. I also had a newborn at 30. Well, I guess I was 29. It was 5 minutes before I was 30, though. Military incentivizes marriage. Yeah, we all know that. Breastfeeding isn't one size fits all. Okay. Why I don't share my daughter online. The last thing. So yeah, let's just go. I might scrub. I don't know. We'll see how valuable the information is, but we're definitely going to speed this up because I'm not about it. Let's go, guys.
We sat down with TikTok stars Kay and Tay to talk about their life before fame. Recently, they celebrated the birth of their first child together, which came as a surprise. But what most people don't know is this wasn't either of their first experiences with pregnancy. Tay's ex-wife cheated on him and got pregnant while he was deployed in Afghanistan. Kay, on the other hand, got pregnant at 19 and has a 12-year-old daughter that she has joint custody over. She doesn't show her 12-year-old daughter on any of her TikTok videos, and up to this point, she has stayed silent about it. We talk about all this and so much more in today's interview. What's up, dudes? And welcome back to the Unplanned Podcast.
Woohoo!
Hey!
Yeah.
Today we are joined by Kay and Tay. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah.
We are so stoked to have you on the podcast.
We're also excited.
We are so stoked y'all invited us.
And congratulations on the birth of your baby. Oh my gosh, she's adorable. She's literally here in the room.
She's loving it.
We were talking before the podcast, talking about how life didn't always look this way. Like there were times of like being low income and things being hard. And I think I read something online about you guys saying that like you were in debt at one point. And I'm curious, like talk to us about that, because I feel like it's a side of your life that a lot of people don't see online.
Yeah, neither of us came from a lot of money. I mean, when we got married, we didn't really have any money. We had like a little bit of money. I say that.
When we got married, we didn't have a lot of money. I say that, but...
Then we also went backpacking to Europe with, we weren't very smart, we were young. And so all the money that we did have, we spent it on a trip to Europe and then had no money.
But for the record,
That's hilarious.
Didn't come from money, didn't have money, but had money, but blew it all. Okay, so sounds like you are financially dumb.
for the record, we wanted to have a big wedding, and we had some money saved up, and we didn't want to spend all of the money on a wedding. We started thinking about it, and we're like, this is one night. We're basically paying all this money to throw this big party for everybody else when we're not even going to probably get to sit down and eat the food or do anything, and we're going to be stressed the whole time. So why don't we spend this money on something that's just about us? And so we went on like this really epic honeymoon backpacking extravaganza.
And I say all our money, but it was.
And that was in 2016.
And even it was less than $10,000, the money that I had saved over the course of like 7 years at that point. Like that was the rest of our money. But I felt like me and Kay
but the memories,
that was the start, and I wanted to have that big event in the beginning, and so we were okay like using what we had to make those memories and have that moment, I guess.
Yeah.
And like the $9,000 would have I would have survived a few months on that, because we moved to Alabama. We did.
It was under $10,000. It was $9,995, but like it was under $10,000. Like, do you realize that most people don't even have any savings? Like, this is.
Have jobs. We didn't, you know what I mean? So I don't know. So yeah,
it ended up working out in the end. So
they didn't even have jobs, and he had $9,000 saved up. How did you? I have so many questions.
We didn't spend all of our money, but we definitely built like some amazing memories, and now we're here. So it all worked out. But yes, we did not come from money, neither of us. So we've had to work extremely hard in our lives. Like
multiple jobs.
Yeah, I was working multiple jobs at one point. When school got to, he was in engineering school, which is very hard towards the last like couple years. It's very time consuming. So there were points where he couldn't work anymore, and so I was the only one making money. And at the time, it was like my dental assisting job was not bringing in that much money, but it was enough to survive on. And funny enough, that's actually when we started our TikTok, was during that period of time when I was the only one working. So
that's probably
and you come from the military, which you were in the military, right? Tay,
yeah.
Okay, you didn't do the military, but was it? I think we were saying off podcast. You guys met in the town that you grew up in because you were stationed there, or you were training there, or what happened? Yeah,
so I was in the Air Force, and I had just got back from deployment. I had actually been there for over a year before I deployed, and I didn't meet Kay until after the deployment.
Yeah.
And so I got back, and I ended up meeting her through like mutual friends, and it turns out she had been there the whole time and like been kind of friends in that friend group, but I just never met her. And like the first time I saw her, it was like an immediate connection, and I was like, I can remember we hung out with some friends, and then afterwards I was like talking to all my friends, and I was like, what was the brown-haired girl's name? She had darker hair at the time.
Oh, really?
It was like dirty blonde.
I had like a darker hair, and he was like, the girl with the brown hair, with the brown hair, and that's the only way he knew me, even though I told you my name.
Yeah, but well.
He just didn't remember my name.
But I was like immediately.
And we just, one of my friends reached out to us and was like, or reached out to me on Snapchat, and she was like, hey, Tay wants your number, and I was like, okay. So and then it just kind of went from there. It was really.
What year was that?
That was 2015.
2015.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because
was it 2014?
No, it was 2014.
14. It was
end of 2014. It was November of 2014.
Do you miss the early days of your relationship?
Yeah. August 19th, 2014. And they were together. They first got together in November. So yeah, okay, bro. Like,
relationship at all? Like, do you like the time now that you have together, or do you like look back and you're like, oh man, it was so fun. We were so spontaneous. We went backpacking and all throughout Europe. I don't know.
So that was our, because you say struggle, and I say, yeah, well, we started our life with a bad financial decision, but that was the thing that I always went back to, like for the, that moment, that period of time that we backpacked. I looked back at that all the time, and when I was in school and she was working and I was working and we had these long nights, it was like I always did look back. And I think you always look back when there's like, even when you're struggling in the moment, you hate it, but then you look back and you're like you really,
I grew so much.
Yeah, you grew, or you connect with that time. You know what I mean? Like I guess
I
it's
don't
hard
think
to explain.
we would be as appreciative of what we've accomplished now if we didn't struggle so much in the beginning. And like even growing up, like I would consider, I guess, middle class, but like I didn't have any clothes that I wanted. I didn't have all the Abercrombie and stuff that everybody had.
oh my god, you poor thing. She didn't have Abercrombie stuff that she really wanted. I bet you she was a terrible teenager.
And just coming from that, now being able to, I guess, live differently, like I'm just more appreciative of it. you know, because I didn't start from that.
And I guess I think you guys went from like 1 million to 9 million followers on TikTok in a matter of a year. Holy cow! Like
Crazy.
what happened? What's
I'm
the
still
secret?
asking myself
How
that.
did you guys hack the algorithm? Like what did
I
you
don't
do?
know. It was just Kay's face, man. She's so funny.
No, she's not. No, she's not. She's not funny. Also, I like how she's acting like a normal adult here. Not like she's 5 years old, pouting and whining and crying. So that's cool. I appreciate that.
But laugh, like everything. She's so funny.
I don't know.
I think that, I mean, it was a content switch. I think we were just kind of jumping around and doing trends and stuff.
Yeah.
And then finally we were just like, let's just show our life. And I just started filming Kay. And because, you know, I fell in love with Kay for the same reasons that everyone else did, you know, because she's so funny and she's so interesting and all the like, oh gosh, sorry.
Don't make me cry, Tay.
And how thankful she is. Like everyone's always like, oh, Tay does so much for Kay. But it's like, of course I do, because I can like come in with a bag of chips and Kay is like, you did it. Like that bag of chips, you're so nice. Like just her
just the
reactions,
thought,
I think
you
that's
know?
what did it.
There's something about your content that just like affected me too. I was in my head. I was like, is this real? Because like you guys are so
It's not. It's not real. You guys are so
sweet to each other.
sweet
and so
to each other. Sweet to each other. Does she know that he has domestic violence charges against him?
like precious, thankful, like thoughtful. I'm like, man, I could really take a page out of their books because they're so sweet. And then part of me is like, is this real? Do you guys get asked that all the time? Like, is this real? And then I guess like, how do you keep that in your marriage? Because you've been married a decent amount of time, and you guys, like you said, have been through some hard times. Like, how do you keep that in your marriage? Like that freshness.
For one, yes, it is real. We
No, it's
have
not.
we fight. I mean, every couple fights, and
Every couple fights, but most couples don't end up with domestic violence charges against one of the parties. They're still trying to hide at this point. I'm pretty sure it didn't get leaked yet that he has domestic violence charges against him. So
fighting if you're not having disagreements, which is
I hate
more,
the word fight.
Yeah,
Because
it's
people
not
use the word fight as like aggression.
Like a physical.
Yeah.
right. And so
burst.
I don't even like calling it fights, but do we have disagreements? 100% we do. And if you didn't have disagreements, that's a red flag in my opinion. It's healthy to have healthy disagreements and conversations about things that you don't see the same.
yes, she's right. It is healthy to have discussions and to disagree with each other and to, agree to disagree or whatever. It is not healthy for it to escalate and someone to put their hands on someone and charges be pressed.
Page on. But he has always been so like gift giving, nurturing. If I'm not feeling well, he wants to help any way he can. That's just his personality type.
I think the time benefits us. We learn that.
I think I, for one, feel so extra thankful. I've always been a sensitive person, and I have been told my whole life, like, you got to toughen up, or like, you're too sensitive. But I tend to cry a lot, and I'm more emotional than some.
Yeah.
But I did come, I didn't have a previous relationship that I could feel myself in. And I feel like with him, like, he brings out the best of me. He brings out all the, the sensitive side that I can bring out, if that makes sense.
I just love when I like that she shows emotions. I like that I want her to show the emotion she feels, because there's something unnatural about feeling like you have to hide something that you're feeling. And I feel like that's so normal nowadays. It's like, oh, toughen up. But no, like
I let it out too, girl. Don't worry.
I feel like our personality types just really click. And I don't think a lot of people find that in their soulmates. I think people think that they found their soulmates a lot of times and they don't. And maybe that's why divorce rates are so high. But I truly feel like Taylor and I click so well together because
You both are divorced. How can you, you have no leg to stand on? You literally are both divorced.
like everything about me works so well with everything about him. It's really weird.
But it's
we
also
still have arguments, we still fight, but we just work so well together, and we know how to talk things out and not have super loud yelling matches. Like,
And it didn't. I mean, like you said, like how long we've been together. I feel like that's actually made it better, because you learn what gets to a person and what doesn't, and then you can say, I'm not going to do say things a certain way because that might trigger them to be angry or that might make them upset. And so over time, you learn all these little details, and then you know what to avoid, and you know what to lean into, and that's what kind of strengthens your relationship.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I think initially with the story of your pregnancy and everything, I assumed that this was your first pregnancy, but I know that you have a daughter as well. Like if you have two daughters, and so I guess my question.
Yeah, so again, circling back, that was the big thing, is she acted like it was her first pregnancy, and then all of a sudden her private Instagram is public. It's just...
Is were you previously married before Tay?
I was. So this isn't something we've really been able to go into depth on our channel because we just post short. There's not a lot of time to really go into depth. But yes, I got married at 18. I got pregnant and had my first daughter at 19. The marriage was not good. It was not compatible. We fought a lot, and when I say fight, I mean fight. It wasn't like Taylor and I's arguments.
That's why I don't like the word fight.
Yeah,
I'm so
because
sorry.
I've lived that, and I know how much harder it can be to be in that kind of relationship. But
And yet she's sitting here in 2024, 3, I don't remember how long ago this was. I think it was in 2024. And saying all this, yet her husband sitting right next to her has domestic violence charges against her. Oh, I don't like to use that's why I don't like to use the word fight. Like, yeah, because you're a piece of shit too. I can't say two because we don't know that her ex is a piece of shit.
I did end up getting divorced, and now we have joint custody. So yeah, that's kind of a little short. You know, he's been in her life since she was 3, and she doesn't know life without Taylor. She's very close to Taylor. I mean, he's like the play parent. He's sat in the floor and played Barbies with her, and he's just so hands-on with her, and they're very close. In fact, I would say like he is one of her best friends. Aww. I mean, you wrote her a card one year for her birthday, and it was like, I think this was actually 2022 because it was at my Gigi's house when she had cancer. So yeah, it was that birthday. But he wrote her card, and it was like, thank you for being my best friend. And it was like made me cry.
That's precious.
But they are very close, and I'm so thankful because he didn't have to take that on, and he did, even though I had a lot of baggage. This is the sensitive side of me that's coming out, and I shouldn't.
Nope. You don't get to do an ad.
Tay, did you know initially, because I think we're talking a little bit about how you
the
guys
brown
met.
hair girl.
Oh, yeah, the brown hair girl. Did you know that the brown hair girl had this beautiful daughter, or did it take a couple dates or something to learn that information?
It wasn't day one. Like, I didn't learn that day we met, but it wasn't long after. I mean, like, within the first few conversations, Kay's very, like, that's like her favorite topic is talking about kids. And now Ellie, like, well, you know, like, she's been nonstop this whole time. Oh, sorry. About Ellie, so. I mean, like, I knew very quickly, and it wasn't like something I was.
And he didn't get to meet her. He didn't get to meet her for like 6 months.
Yeah, you were really careful.
So I was very careful because I didn't want to just introduce anybody to her. So it was a good 6 months before we met her.
So at this point, you were 22, and you were divorced and you had a daughter. What were you like? I can't even imagine being at that place in your life. Was it something you were like, this is a fresh start, or were you just like?
I was really scared, to be honest, because I didn't really trust men at that point. I didn't have any faith in finding somebody that would accept her and me.
This is upsetting. How can she sit here and be like, I was a 22-year-old single mom? No, you weren't. You barely saw her from 2014 to 2016. So her sitting here spewing this bullshit is upsetting. It's so upsetting. Knowing what we know now, this is lies. All of it. All of it is purely fabricated.
Be worth a darn because of what I had experienced. So
I feel like we were both on the same page.
And him as well. I mean, we both kind of, when we first started talking, we both were like, I don't know if I really want to pursue anything with this because we had both been hurt so badly, and we just were kind of open with each other in the beginning with that.
It's like we were fighting ourselves. We didn't want to have a relationship because we had been hurt and like we weren't into relationships, but we were like, but we want to spend all our time together.
So we were literally hanging out every single day, but we didn't want to like commit, I guess, because we were just so scared of getting hurt again.
How long did that take to go from we're just friends, this is not, we don't like it, we're just friends, this is not gonna go anywhere? How long did it take for that to turn into more than a friendship?
I would say like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Of like kind of fighting it.
And was it like an everyday, like were you hanging out every day?
Oh yeah, we were hanging out.
I don't know about you guys, like when Abby and I first met, like we literally talked every day. And then we were long distance, so like we FaceTimed an hour minimum every day.
Yep.
So I'm sure you guys were hanging out a lot.
We were, and we would just, and even once we like got together, I'm not saying like we broke up and got together, broke up, but we would talk to each other and, you know, be like, what is this going to be? Like, what, you know, it was almost like we were still fighting it even after we said, okay, we're going to be together. You know, it took months.
I would say at like that 4-month mark, it got to the point where we were like, okay, we're going to take this
seriously. We're going to
try
it. Yeah.
And then ever since then, it's just.
But yeah, every day.
I like how he said that. It's not like we were getting together, breaking up, getting together, breaking up, I feel like that's exactly what was going on. Honestly, I'm getting really big, I don't know, overcompensation vibes. And like, I'm not trying to start anything. I'm not trying to speculate. The mugshot is available to see if you guys are curious. And I don't know. It sounds like they're trying to convince themselves that they're so perfect for each other when they know that they're actually not. And it's actually super toxic behind the camera. And that's like...
been each other.
We're just friends. And I'm curious from your perspective, Tay, like finding out, okay, if I like end up marrying this girl, I'm gonna be a dad right away. How did that make you feel? Because I don't know about you, but like I guess were you 21 at the time where you first met? For me, like when we found out we were pregnant and I was 23, I was like, am I too young to be a dad? Like I just felt so young. I felt like I didn't have it figured out yet. And so what was going through your mind?
There was definitely a lot of fears because, you know, that's like a whole other person's life that you're now like responsible for suddenly. But then also it's like, I don't know if I called myself an outsider at the time. Oh, I was an outsider coming in, taking on a responsibility and like I guess I didn't really, because at first I didn't do any parenting. I kind of, because I didn't feel like
It was very
it
hands-off.
was right for me to come in from the outside and say, hey, Kinsley shouldn't eat that, or Kinsley shouldn't do that, because you know what I mean? And so I guess it just kind of happened naturally. It was like very scared, like I don't know, what I'm going to do, if I became a stepdad, but then it kind of turned into, okay, well, I'll be, a step parent, but I'll be really hands-off. And then eventually it just kind of naturally flowed into, okay, I'm just her step parent. I might as well be another dad to her,
And you said you also came from like rough relationships and stuff. Were you previously divorced also?
Yeah, so I also got married really young, high school sweetheart. And then I think what happened was we weren't right for each other, but we got together anyway. And a whole finasco ended up happening where I was deployed and she was messing around with someone else. And then she ended up getting pregnant. And then like I found out deployed, and then it made all this drama. And so I came, like, you could see where I would be
Wait,
standoffish.
I'm confused. Wait, she got pregnant while she was married to you?
Yeah. While I was
I'm
deployed.
so sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it works out.
It works out.
Yeah,
I
honestly,
feel like a lot of
works
time has
out.
passed.
it really
but
was
that
hard.
is-
Like I think back to like I was in Afghanistan, and like I can remember those moments of them like pulling me in and being like, we know what happened, and like me, like I wasn't allowed to like sit, and like we did like patrols, and we would do things where we were in like towers at some points. Like this was like a little fob that I was on, like a forward operating base, so it wasn't like a big base. This was like a small thing. There was like 26 of us, and I wasn't allowed to be alone anymore, and it was just this weird. I was in this weird daze for so long.
Because they were worried about you? They
Well,
wouldn't
because
let you be alone?
that's like that typical story, right? You get deployed, you're in a combat zone, and then something horrible happens back home, and then
I feel like
what
there's
happens to
been movies
military
written
people
about
when
it.
the stress gets high, and those rates are high, and so they're like very careful.
People actually take their own life, like when something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Of course, yeah, and especially deployed because you're already in the middle of nowhere, wearing camouflage all day long. You don't have real clothes. You wear your military uniform all day and night, and you're living in. I was living in a Connex box with a little bathroom built into it.
What is that? What is
A
it?
Connex box, like a shipping container.
Really?
I'm living in a shipping container that they put a door on the side of.
Were you like on?
It had already gotten out.
How long had you been married at this point?
About a year.
Okay.
Yeah, about a year.
And you're just like 20 years old.
She texted you that she was pregnant?
She was like, you're gonna hear about it, essentially, and like that. She basically went into detail about what happened, and she's like, you're probably gonna hear about it because it had already spread back in the States, but everyone was like, don't tell Dudley. Like, we got to figure out how to tell him.
So more people are like actually taking their own lives in the military than in combat, or like than like
Okay,
passing in
stop.
combat.
At that point, probably. So it wasn't.
So when you found out, you knew the marriage was over.
Yeah.
And so you're going through with that, and that she wouldn't sign, I guess?
She wouldn't sign, but he was single. They weren't living together. She had moved back home, and like that's when we met. And so we were, not trying to cause any waves or drama. But once it was like official, I posted a Man Crush Monday, and like I just remember her sister commenting on my Instagram post and tagging her in it, and she was like, "Isn't this your man?" And mind you, she was like 9 months pregnant at the time with somebody else's child.
Oh my gosh.
And I did not say anything
Kinda cringe
because
looking back.
I felt like I didn't want to like lower myself to their standards.
Yeah.
But clearly she was not his man anymore, and she lost that privilege when she did what she did. So I just didn't say anything, and I just deleted the comment. But I'll never forget that, because I just feel like the beginning of our relationship from both sides, we had so much going against us. You know?
I hate that you both went through that, but honestly, learning that gives me so much more context to these short videos that people see on the internet, where it's like, you guys both know what it's like to come from
A broken
unhealthy,
relationship.
broken relationships,
Yeah.
Right.
and then to feel like that security in a relationship, that love and that trust, and like wanting to like show each other affection, like that has to be like bliss.
It is. It's funny because like I see a lot of people saying like, oh, they just post fetish content.
I see that.
Wait,
That's
what?
a new thing.
Fetish.
They
How-
think
yeah.
they think our content's fetish, and it's like really confusing.
I don't know if they mean fetish for women, like to have a perfect relationship.
No,
or
I
if
think
they
they think
I don't
that.
know which one.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No. That was funny. Fetish, like women who want a perfect relation. No. No, it's the moaning and groaning at every single bite of food that's taken, and the infantilization. Got it right that time. That is fetish content for people.
Because they don't make it clear.
Yeah, you honestly like you do the most. I'm like, man, like watching some of your videos, I'm like, man, I definitely could.
It's just my love language, though.
Or it's that they think that I'm acting like a kid on purpose for some reason.
Yeah, that could be it too. They're not very clear.
Yeah, and I just have to say that, like you were saying, because we came from such broken relationships prior, I have opened myself up more with him. So I am able to have like, what would you call that? I don't know. When you are able to just act
Be
really
yourself.
happy and
Yeah.
giddy and
Well, it's
bubbly
like you baby
and
talk with your partner in private, or you
Yeah.
like heighten your voice. Like when I'm talking to Ellie, my voice naturally goes up like 3 octaves. I don't think I'm not like I'm gonna heighten my voice 3 octaves. It just
don't
happens.
think about it.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
natural.
And so Kay just naturally lets loose and shows real emotions, and then people get
So like, okay, well I guess because she's uncomfortable here, but you're still displaying that to millions of people. No, that's the thing. It's like, I understand what you're trying to say. I'm comfortable around him, so I can act like myself around him, but most people don't act like a toddler. And that's how they act like themselves. That's where people are coming from. I mean, like I said, she's probably not comfortable here, right? It's more of a professional setting. It's more of a, like, it's an interview, stuff like that. But that's, not how normal people act.
So, yeah, about
They're like, this is clearly fetish content. And I'm like, are you joking?
You're
Like,
like, you turned on
to
by
be
this?
able to think.
she's like eating a carrot cake.
Ew.
I'm like, if your brain is immediately going to that,
That's
like,
like
then
saying
we're
that.
worried about you.
Honestly, that's,
You know?
I think that's where a lot of the more negative comments probably come from. Is just like people speaking out of their own like
Your
bad
own
situations,
yeah.
your own negative thoughts.
Yeah,
So,
projecting.
yeah.
They're like projecting their own
Projecting.
thoughts, and so
No.
I just kind of laugh about it. But it's just so funny that people go there.
It is. That's weird. But yeah, that's so. We say we both were like standoffish. That's why we both had a really bad situation, and then we were like, oh, we want to be together, but we don't trust
It was
relationships.
pretty soon at that point.
Yeah, how long did you wait? Because I feel like going through all of that, were you scared?
It was a few months.
Or were you like, oh, this is the person I want to? I just want to escape from my past and cling to this new person because they feel safe and it feels like home.
That sounds not healthy, Matt. That sounds like something you probably shouldn't do. Just throwing it out there.
And they understand me and our personalities make sense together. Like, how did you go about recovery from leaving a damaged past?
So both, right? So like
Yeah.
because you think like the rebound. Like I don't like to call Kay a rebound, but you think that like you naturally want comfort from somewhere else and you lose it and you want to replace it.
Yeah.
But I'm also a very like I put thought into everything I do, and so I'm like I really like Kay. I really want to like get to know her more. I really want to be in a relationship with her, but I don't want to have anything to do with women ever again. And I don't trust women, and I will not have anything to do with women. And so it was just this game of like inching closer and closer, you know, to finally breaking down all those walls that had been built up. I
I
guess.
think I was a little bit more open to
In 3 months, 2 months.
starting a relationship because for me, our divorce was finalized in April and we met in November. So it had been a little while.
That is not true. That is a lie. It was August, not April.
For me to
And that was after the finalized. That wasn't even like the
try to
separating
heal,
and
you know. And even though I was hesitant at first, at that like
are they
3 month mark, I
talking
was
about?
like, I really want to like pursue.
On or about August 19th, 2014, a decree of dissolution of marriage was entered in the above styled matter. August. I'm pretty sure I know the difference between August and April. Correct me if I'm wrong. I will zoom in right here. Oh, I can't zoom in. Yes, I can. August 19th, 2014. And then he's trying to say, yeah, in April, like, that's not even when they decided. So it had already been a time. Like, no, you guys are lying.
This. I want to see where this goes because I really care for you and like we just meshed so well as friends. And I think that's really why we have such a good relationship is because like he truly is my best friend. I know people say that, but like I don't even really have friends. I really don't. And like I'm not just saying that. I don't have girlfriends because we are just like
you don't.
always working. We're always together and he is my best friend. If I need help with like what
No. You don't have girlfriends because you can't trust anyone because they'll see the truth behind the camera. So you can't bring people in and hang out with people because they will whistleblow and say that no, they have a terrible toxic relationship. So that's why you have no friends. And also, just throwing it out there, but complete isolation from everyone and anyone. So her having no friends, not really a flex when your partner has domestic violence charges against him towards you. That's not a flex to be like, I have no friends. That's a red flag, Kay.
to where I go to him. Like,
say whatever you think.
yeah, he's so much help.
This portion of today's episode is sponsored.
Nope. I don't care who it's sponsored by. You're not going to say.
What advice would you guys give to people who might be in a toxic relationship and maybe they're seeing warning signs that like their partner might be cheating on them, or I don't know, like was there anything that you saw that was a warning sign that you should have, looking back, like gotten out of that relationship immediately?
No, not really. I see, like that's my situation's weird because I wasn't physically there, and so I mean that happens a lot in the military, right? I mean, cheating in the military is a super common thing on both sides. The military member and the spouse, they're separated a lot, and they're in these new environments and they're meeting all these new people, and you know, so it's hard to say in that situation. I think if they're trying, you know, if the person that you're in a relationship is they're like you can tell they're trying, then you're, I don't know, I'd say you're
It
probably
was a
good.
really weird situation for him, I feel like, because
Yeah?
he was like,
Is that for me? Thank you.
like everything was good. You know, it was kind of random. I feel like.
Yeah,
What
it was
you
a little bit of a
explained.
blindside.
So
I mean,
it was just out of nowhere.
yeah, it was a blindside for sure.
And was it somebody that you knew,
Yeah, they worked with me. Yeah.
like over in
Well, it was
Afghanistan?
more than, well, no, because they were in Afghanistan. Well, they were back home.
Okay,
but
okay.
It was multiple people, but
They didn't know. She didn't know who.
she didn't know who the dad was.
From
but,
multiple people.
But
that he knew.
either way, it's, I don't know. I don't really have.
Oh, could you imagine if this was also a lie and this poor woman, her family sees this, which they probably did, or anything like that, and they're just like, yeah, she cheated on me with multiple men, and you know, she got pregnant and didn't know who the dad was. And even if it's not a lie, this feels yucky for them to be sharing, because I get it. Like, you're hurt, allegedly, and you got cheated on, allegedly. But I don't know. You just shared all this stuff to 1.9 million people. That's how many views this video has. And it's like, why?
Advice for how you would detect that?
I wouldn't have advice for
Looking
the
back,
cheating.
I don't know how I would have.
I do have advice for red flags in general with like my situation.
Yeah.
If y'all want to hear. It's not as juicy as cheating probably, but I feel like for me with the red flags that I should have seen were control. And so I wasn't allowed to have friends at all.
Yet you have no friends still, okay?
Like, even though I wanted them and I wanted to go, we lived in my hometown, and so I went to high school there, knew all these people, and I kind of like slowly was cut off from everybody. He didn't want me to go to college in my hometown as a community college because I might see boys that I went to school with. I didn't have access to our money up until he deployed because I had to have access to money at that point because he wasn't there.
Wait, her ex was in the military as well. You still don't have access to money. Everything's in Tay's name. This is, yeah.
No, it's just a lot of control, and I don't know. Obviously, I think it stemmed from insecurities and him feeling like he would lose me. I guess I tried to understand his thought process and why he was like that, but definitely you can't control your partner. You can't put restraints on their money, like not even having access to the cards so you can go grocery shopping or having friends or going out to eat. And if I did go out to eat, I would have to text him the whole time to make sure he knew I was not
It's like
doing
an insecurity
something.
kind of thing. Or...
Whoa, really?
If I was going to hang out with somebody, I had to send pictures. I mean, it was like
That was an actual
pictures.
requirement. Like,
yes,
if you hang out with a friend, you
pictures.
need to
And
send
if
a
I
picture.
didn't, he'd find me and be outside, and he'd tell me to come outside because he found me at their house and wanted me to come outside and talk to him. 900 phone calls in a row if I didn't answer. So I think those are red flags for sure.
I feel
Those are
like
the
there's
obvious
someone.
red flags, I
I
feel
feel like there's someone listening right now who's in that same situation, literally right now,
Yeah.
and they see all the red flags, but they're too scared to leave and to seek help.
And if you are, first, I'm sorry that you're in that situation. You're not alone. You're never alone. It's not your fault. And just the biggest thing is to keep a rational head. Don't panic and get out when you can, when it's safe. Contact someone you trust. Open up to them so that you can help plan how to get away. There are options. There are tons of resources. I'm going to link some down below in the description box. And just be careful. Just be careful. Be smart. Don't make any irrational decisions, and open up to someone that you trust about it. That'll be able to help you out.
What would you say to that person?
I would say that as hard as it may feel like it is in that moment, 10 years from now, you will be so glad that you left, because it takes seven times for somebody to leave an abusive relationship before it sticks. That's like the statistic, I think.
Like leaving and coming back?
Leaving and coming back, because I, for one, left and came back so many times, including when I was pregnant. I left multiple times and came back. So I think if you finally are able to leave, you just have to know in 10 years, in 5 years, even 3 years, you're going to be so happy that you did. Because it does get better, so much better. And who knows, like maybe your person is waiting and they're also going through something and they need to find you as well. So I have peace knowing that I feel like I made the right decision.
I think something that surprises me knowing more about your guys' like past is that you were so willing to enter into another marriage. Like I could see where people are like, okay, well, we'll just stay together, but marriage altogether, it doesn't work. But the fact that you guys, like, you dated for a few years before you got married, 2 years. So I feel like that's a pretty standard amount of time, even short in some people's minds. Like how did your view of marriage stay like something that you wanted to pursue?
I think we just, we dated for 2 years, but we lived together for a year of that.
Which I know is kind of like something
Some people say you should
don't
do it. I think you
agree
should.
with.
I think you should live together before you get married, for sure.
Especially coming from our past, like I had to be sure that I wasn't getting myself into something else.
And so we weren't married yet, but we had already learned each other. We had been together day and night for a year. And so at that point, yes, it's like a contract to like be married. But if you didn't sign the contract, like by law, aren't you married anyway after like so many years of living together?
Yeah.
So
In
something
common
like
law,
that.
it's like common law.
Yeah.
So I mean, like
Yeah,
the
but
moment, the biggest moment
you
would have
don't
been the
have
moment we
to-
decided to live together.
You don't have to get a divorce from a common law partnership. Just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
That would have been the biggest
Commitment, because we moved all our things together and got a place together.
Yeah.
So
Whose idea was that?
It kind of just happened. Kay had moved.
I was kind of going to be homeless there for a minute.
no.
And he was like, we want to move in together at some point anyways, let's just do it. And that's kind of how it happened. It was not really planned. It wasn't how we were going to do it, but it was something that we felt like made the most sense at that time.
And you were pretty young too. Like, I guess you were 20, 22, 23 when that change probably happened. So I'm curious too, as far as like, things with kids or like thinking about having kids. What was the conversation like there?
Yeah, I think at first it was definitely like we want to have our own relationship and like not have any more kids and and not try for kids. At a point, we did start trying once we got in Alabama. I had found out in the military I couldn't have kids.
Well,
And
then it was going to be hard.
That it was going to be hard to have kids.
It would be incredibly hard for him to have
Yeah,
kids.
by a doctor in the military, they were basically like, we don't know. Like, it'll be really hard or it won't happen. And so Kay knew, I guess, going into it, that might not be a possibility.
But I had my girl. I had a baby, and so as much as I wanted to share that with him, I think that never made me not want to be with him, if that makes sense. Because I mean, it wasn't his fault, and I loved him. But obviously, I think I always wanted more children, but we didn't seriously start trying until like a few years in.
Yeah.
Because we really tried to focus on our relationship at first. I feel like it's super important. You know, something I didn't do with my last relationship is focus on a relationship, and I think if I had done that, which I'm glad I didn't because I have my daughter, but if I had done that, I think I probably wouldn't have had a baby because I would have seen the red flags a lot sooner, or I would have had a friend or a parent or somebody tell me before I got pregnant. But all that being said, I'm so glad I have my daughter, and she's a blessing, and all that was meant to happen because of her.
Okay.
But with Taylor, I did want to focus more on like just focusing on us and having a healthy relationship before we brought another life into it.
Right.
And once I felt comfortable and I knew like our relationship was strong, it was really at that point it was like, okay, let's be financially stable now.
Yeah,
and once
true.
we were financially stable, it was like, okay, I really want to
Well,
start
financially
trying.
stable enough, I guess.
Enough.
We were
Not
like, let's get to the
great,
point
but-
where we can't afford to live ourselves. Because like we were still paycheck to paycheck when we started trying, but we were like, but we are managing it, and we are, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't think it would happen
Yeah,
because
it was,
I had
when I
such
say
a
we were
low
trying, but
hope
it was
for
like I didn't think I could have kids, so it was like let's try, but
Could take a few
no
years,
high
like-
expectation.
Finding out you were pregnant, was that like total shock?
So shocking.
What made you even test?
So we had been at my daughter's dance competition the week before, and we
Ignoring
went and ate
her.
at the hotel we were staying at. And then that night I woke up in the middle of the night so sick. I never threw up, but I was so sick. And I was like, that's so weird. Till like,
we got here.
Yeah, till we got to this apartment and I didn't tell him. So I like held on to that secret, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Because not only was I nauseous and had to play it off as like, I would just keep eating these bad things. I don't know. But
Then the bloating. And then,
yeah, the bloating. I bloat really bad. I look pregnant if I eat a burrito. Like it's really bad.
which actually helped you because I wasn't even the slightest bit.
Oh, yeah, he did- he
Because
just thought I was
I was
eating
just so
bad-
used to Kate
yeah.
bloating up, and she's like, oh, I'm bloated. I had dinner. I'm bloated. she's tiny, so she bloats really.
But like
easy.
people would say in our stuff all the time, way prior to me being pregnant, they were like, "Oh, she must be pregnant." And I'm like, "No, that's just Texas Roadhouse rules." Okay?
Someone got it right
Like,
at some point, you know.
Oh yeah, and then like, but towards the end when we were about to announce it, people were like catching on. They're like, "She's definitely pregnant. She's pregnant." And then we announced it, and they were like, "I knew it from the last video. I knew it." And I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm like 5 weeks, and everybody already knows." But
How long did you keep it a secret from him?
it was like
It was only like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
we
4 or
were
5
literally
days.
about.
Wait, that's a
Girl,
long time.
it was hard.
I
It
would've
was so hard.
burst.
I
We
know.
were literally
well,
about to move.
So Kinsley
gonna have
knew
a
because she was there
seizure.
the day I took the
Holy
test, and she
frig.
wanted to help plan this like everything. So it was really cool because I actually got to have like this special moment with her.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was her reaction?
She cried. I haven't cried thinking about it. But she cried, and I was really worried that she was gonna like resent me or be hurt or jealous.
will.
And surprisingly, like it's like she was waiting this whole time for it. She was so happy, and that was so relieving that she didn't.
I almost don't even want to give her the time of day to keep talking about what she's talking about.
Hate me for having another baby. I don't know
She
if that's
will.
like something you like can relate to, but I feel like having a second child, you feel like your heart is like not big enough to love both until they're there, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I totally get it now. Like I love them equally with all of my heart. Your heart just literally grows. It's like so true what they say. But yeah, I was definitely worried that she would be like resentful towards me.
She will be.
He gets his farts from his dad. Matt,
it's funny.
She gets hers from him for sure.
Oh my gosh. Do you guys fart in front of each other?
Kate doesn't fart.
I knew
is
she was
real.
one of those girls. I knew you were a
No,
non-farter.
listen.
I don't believe it.
Listen, Linda, listen. Okay.
Listen, Linda.
So really though, I don't like.
She
It's
actually
not
doesn't.
my fault. I would if I could, and I want to.
It's 'cause you-
I want to, guys.
What is wrong
Yes,
with
I
you?
do.
She's a Disney princess. She can't fart.
She literally doesn't though.
Wait.
He has to do the bicycle with me to try to make it happen, and it
Oh
won't
my
happen.
God.
I don't fart either. It's crazy.
Wait, if you're
Okay,
going,
I'm not the
if
only
you're
one.
going number 2, are you guys like the couple that like you have to have the door closed? Like it's not allowed to be in the bathroom at the same time?
And we don't have to.
No.
I just prefer not to.
Oh,
But-
okay, that's nice. Matt literally thinks it's the perfect time to start a
I'm just gonna
conversation.
walk in and just like have
I tell him
conversations.
all the time.
happen.
I'm like, if I'm getting ready, and he's like, I have to go. And I'm like,
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Oh, that's nice. Matt thinks it's the perfect time to start a conversation. I am shocked. Matt and Abby just made me giggle. Well, I mean, they're talking about poop and farts, so obviously. Okay, let's.
Like now that we've had that discussion, I feel like we are so close. And I've known you guys for
bonded.
it's crazy how quickly that can happen. You just talk to somebody for an hour and you talk about like flatulence,
his legs
you know,
not
and it's
dry?
like wow, we've known each other for like years. It's like we go way back.
Yeah,
I'm
it always
curious.
gets to that conversation.
I want to bring up something that you said earlier. You mentioned how you thought it was like the right decision to move in together before you guys got married, and I'm just like so interested in like what that was like for you guys.
I think in our case, like, you know, us both having those events happen. Like for you guys, you were like high school sweethearts, and like so it was very natural to wait, right? Because you already didn't live together through all of high school and stuff, right? And so
Yeah.
it almost made more sense to wait until that moment. For us, we had these like, you know, horrible things happen, and so I felt like both of us wanted to move in together first and kind of had that buffer where it's like, okay, well, if we hate each other in the morning, like let's figure it out before we get married again and do all this again, you know? And I think we both agreed on that. We wanted
From the
that
get-go,
time
we
to
wanted-
learn
Yeah.
all those little details.
But if we hadn't had those relationships,
It was like, well, I was with this person before I joined, so I might as well get married and get that extra few $100 a month.
Why is that? Why does the military incentivize marriage?
I don't remember now if they pay you more for kids or not, or if it's just being married. But I
they
have
pay you more for your
each kid?
VAH, which is what they give you for rent, like your living allowance.
with food too,
essentially.
right? They give you like a food allowance. It's more too.
Do they give you a food allowance?
Yeah, I think it is because you have a wife that you're supporting or kids that you're supporting, so they give you more. Like it's the right thing to do to give you more, but then everyone in the military gets married for the wrong reason.
Did you guys both go to college?
Kay went to a different college than me.
I did school for dental assisting.
Okay.
I did go to college prior to that. I was going to be a nurse. I wanted to go to nursing school, so I did like all of my prerequisites for nursing, and then ultimately decided not to do nursing. And it wasn't until a few years later that I was like, I want to pursue dental, because I'd always found dental stuff interesting and I like teeth. So I'm really glad I did, because honestly, like I was very passionate about it.
She's really
and
good at
I would still be doing it if it wasn't for like some autoimmune conditions that I have, and now wanting to be able to stay home with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it a lot.
I think you guys have opened up about your autoimmune conditions on TikToks. I've seen that in like the captions of your videos. Enlighten me on what that exactly means, because I'll be honest, I have no idea what an autoimmune condition is. So how do you explain that, I guess?
So basically, my immune system is like attacking my body, and it's like overactive. It doesn't realize. So basically, like when you have the flu, your immune system attacks the flu virus and gets rid of it. It's like your little army. My immune system thinks everything is the flu, so it'll attack my organs. The flu, because that's really the only way I can describe it. Is I feel like when you have really bad body aches with a fever, like when you have the flu or something, that's what it feels like. I wake up and I ache all over my body. I just hurt. And sometimes I'll even have like a low-grade fever. Like that's normal.
Like yesterday, you had a fever.
I had a fever yesterday, and we almost contacted you guys because I took a COVID test because I was like,
Really?
am I having a flare or do I have COVID? Because I felt that
That's
bad.
because that autoimmune had
It literally feels so similar. Obviously, it was negative, and I feel fine today, but it just hits me sometimes where I'm down and I cannot function.
and she's getting payback now from not having any symptoms during the pregnancy, because right at
No.
postpartum, it actually, when your hormones dip and everything, it gets really bad. So
Yeah, my rheumatologist actually told me, she's like, expect worse flares now than you've ever had.
You're like, add that to the rest of postpartum.
Right?
Aw.
Exactly.
So it's been a really rough week, actually. It's been a really hard week.
Yeah.
Is there any medicine you can take, or is that not something you can do while you're breastfeeding?
So I can take the only medication I can take right now is the same thing I was taking while I was pregnant, but it's only like an added, like really I need that plus like an infusion every month or a shot every 2 weeks. Those are like the immune suppressant medications that I need to be taking, but I can't take those. So I'm basically only down to like the pill that I take every day, and it doesn't put them in remission.
And it might
doesn't.
be affecting your supply right now. Her supply has dipped in the last
Yeah.
like 3 days bad.
That's the most stressful thing, at least for me. Like constantly worrying about milk supply will be the end of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I tell Matt every single day, I'm like, I think it's going, like it's gone, and then it just feels like the end of the world. But then I remember feeling that a million times with my first, and then now he's eating solids, and it's like, why did I stress so much about that? It's not the end of the world, but
Yeah.
it just can feel like that sometimes.
It definitely does. I stress so much because in the beginning,
If your baby is content, sleeping, settling, peeing and pooping 6 to 8 times a day, you're good. You have enough supply. That's the biggest thing. The things to watch for is like if your baby is restless, if they're not settling after they eat, stuff like that. That's what you want to watch for. But yeah, if you have a content baby who like eats and then passes out for a couple hours and wakes up and eats again, then your supply's good. But yes, it is very stressful because you can't measure it, right? With formula, you go scoop, pour, measure. Oh, they drank this much. Cool. Write it down. With breastfeeding, it's supply and demand. They take what they need. So I get that. But yeah, as long as your baby is pooing, peeing every time you go to feed, there's a wet or dirty diaper. If they're under 6 months, then you good.
like she did lose weight, and my supply did take a dip in the beginning from her tongue tie because I didn't realize that she wasn't eating enough because she couldn't suck enough out, and so she just started losing like all this weight, and thankfully we got it revised and she started eating again. But it was definitely scary there for a minute, and now I'm like losing more supply, and I'm like, am I going to be back to that? Is she going to start losing weight?
How
does
do
this
you
time around?
know? How do they know that they're losing supply? How does she know that her supply has halved? Does she only pump, or does she like breastfeed? No, because she has fetish breastfeeding content allegedly. So how do you know? Because you don't know that your supply has halved or dropped or anything. Like I don't.
Been different than your first pregnancy and first time through postpartum. Is it similar? Is it different? Is it hard to remember since it's been 12 years?
Yes, it is so
Yes, all
hard.
the above?
Yes, all the above. I honestly don't remember a lot about my postpartum journey with my first. A lot of that whole era of my life is kind of a blur, to be honest. I don't know if I block out a lot of it, but I don't remember so much, and it stinks because I wish I could like. In a lot of ways, I do feel like a first-time mom again sometimes because I'm like, well, how did I do this, or did Kinsley do this or that? And it's been so different. It's been challenging because I'm relearning a lot. Like 12 years is a long time. I don't think people realize how long 12 years is. So yeah, it's been different. Now I will say breastfeeding my first it came very easily and very naturally, which I'm learning is like a blessing because so many people struggle with breastfeeding, and at the time I just had no idea that it could even be hard. I was like, oh, they're hungry, stick them on, then go about your day. Like it just wasn't hard for me the first time, and then I learned very quickly with her that it can definitely be hard. And it was like I was really close to just going to formula because I was crying every single time. It hurt so bad. And she was crying because she wasn't eating enough. And I definitely feel for all those moms out there that struggle with breastfeeding, that want to do it so badly and then they ultimately can't. Like, I feel so bad for them, and I feel so.
Yeah, and honestly, like, to all the moms, new moms, first time moms, second, eighth time moms, if you want to breastfeed and you go to breastfeed and you're trying and you're putting in the effort and you're seeking help and consultations and you're trying this, trying that, you got the tongue tied, if you're doing everything you can and it doesn't work, I know it's devastating and I know it's not what you want, but do not hold on to that guilt. You tried. That's what you need to hold on to, is the fact that you tried, you wanted to, and it's so gut-wrenching, and I know it's easier said than done, and I know that it doesn't make it better or like solve the issue, but seriously, don't hold on to that guilt. It's not your fault, especially if you tried everything you could to make it happen. We're so hard on ourselves all the time, and we really just need to take a little bit of the pressure off. And it's hard with social media and society making pregnancy look easy and fun and joyous, and making birth and labor look like a breeze, and look, I have my makeup done after, and postpartum is so easy, and look, and it's fake. Social media is fake. It's not the truth. I don't know much about their early pregnancy or their breastfeeding journey, but I'm sure they glamorized most of it and glorified it. And before now, did they share that they were struggling with breastfeeding? Because if not, then that sucks. And it's...
Tay, how did that affect you? What were you thinking in those moments where Kaylee really wanted to breastfeed and it just wasn't going the way that she had planned?
It was really stressful. It was emotionally taxing in multiple ways. One, because Ellie wasn't getting fed, and so she was constantly whining. And like, this was my first time with a newborn. Like, I started with Kinsley at 3, but nothing. It's at, newborn stage. And so I was just like, is this it? Is this what people talk about? Is she supposed to be up every 30 minutes, like crying? And right as you release the latch, she starts crying again. And I'm like, this is, it was just confusion at all angles for me, and stress. And I was worried, and Kay was stressed. And I was like, she was supposed to be the expert. Why does she not know what's going on?
Yeah, he kept asking me, he's like, is this normal?
What am I
like,
supposed to do?
what do we do? Is this normal? When does it get better? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't remember this happening with Kinsley. Like,
switching the subject, like, what do your families think about you guys right now? Like, I feel like you've had such a massive life change just in the past like year, basically. TikTok wasn't even an app that existed 5 years ago, and now like that is your job. So how do you explain that to your grandma? Like, what do you do? What do you say?
well, I will say, like,
Abby's
my family,
bored. Did you see that, Jan? Like, she's like, I'm over this.
I think I've gotten some of them on TikTok because
Really?
of us. I think that's probably true for a lot of people. But they're very proud of us, like very proud, very supportive. We've never had to like hide our type of content, which we do very wholesome content anyways, but like we've just always like been ourselves and been like, hey, this is our job, and they've always supported that.
They were even supportive in the beginning when
we had nobody following
Yeah.
us. Like, they were our first followers. They were the people who like liked all of our stuff. His mom still, every single day when we post our reel, she shares it to Facebook. Every single
Aw.
day, never fails. She shares it to Facebook. And like, I mean, I don't know how many people are seeing that, but it's just the support is there.
So
It's
sweet.
so there.
really,
so,
really sweet.
yeah, I think they're proud of us.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about you guys?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I don't know. Give me a list of misconceptions.
I'm kind of just like throwing that on you. I don't know why I asked that, but I was like, maybe I should ask that question. Maybe there's something that
I will
people...
say the biggest misconception, and this is coming from like my mom's self,
Okay.
that I don't love my first daughter and that I'm hiding her.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
That's probably the biggest misconception I can think of. Because I mean, it does hurt me. I think about it like every single day. Just the comments, like, they get to you when people start saying that. Even though I know that that's not true, people from an outside perspective are like, well, she doesn't show her daughter, so she must not love her. But
No, that's not the problem. It's not the fact that you don't show her. In fact, I would applaud you for actually not showing her. Like, if your private Instagram was still private, for example. But no, we need to be big and famous across all profiles, right? No, it's not the fact that you don't show her, you don't love her. In fact, it would be the exact opposite. If you didn't show her, it would prove to us that you loved her more. It is the fact that you completely hid her from your following, that you neglected to ever mention that she existed until people found it out. It's the fact that you kept it a secret and that you didn't tell people. That's why people are upset, are still finding out about it, because they don't follow your personal account and you don't talk about her anywhere else. And thank goodness, don't give her privacy away. don't start talking about her on TikTok of all places. I'm sure she pops up places that we don't want her popped up, because you guys have 10 million people on TikTok, and those TikTok people will find your private profile with your daughter and take those pictures and do stuff with them. That's why it is dangerous to put kids online, especially as influencers. People aren't upset about that. And also the court documents that say, you know, you were an absent mother from 2014 to 2016, other than sporadic visitation, the fact that her father has her full time, and you're sitting here like, yeah, we have her all the, yeah, we're like perfect, yeah, he's best friends, yeah, acting like you were a single mom and you've always co-parented and you have her 50-50, like.
I don't think these people understand, like, number one, my daughter is 12. She has a choice. If she doesn't want to be on our podcast, on her content, then I'm not going to force her to do that. Same with Ellie. Once Ellie's old enough to make that decision, like, I will never force my kids to be a part of this if they don't want to be.
Yeah.
And she's at an age where, like, her friends follow us, and she's not probably particularly, like, interested in putting her life out there for all her friends to, like, dissect and be like, oh, I saw that you did this, you know, the other day or whatever.
Exactly.
So I completely respect it. And
why are you doing that to your baby? Because she can't say no yet? The minute that she's old enough to say no, it's going to be too late. You realize that, right? You're going to have given away all of her privacy, like you talking about her bowel movements and the fact that it was a horrible, worst thing ever when she started solid foods. You think she's going to grow up and be like, thanks, Mom. Thanks for posting that to the internet.
Understand. But, and, you know, the other thing is her father doesn't want her on it for his own reasons, and that's his thing. So it's just, to me, like, just because we don't film her it has no relation, like, to how much we love her. Like, it doesn't make sense to me how people can't just understand, like, we don't post her for her reason, like, her reasons. If she wants to be on there, she will be.
So why did you...
Isn't it crazy how you can't win? Because it's like, if you show your kid, it's like, oh my gosh, they are looking out for them. They're putting their kid on the internet. They hate their kid.
Yes.
If you don't show your kid, then it's like, they're not showing their kid. They hate their kid.
You
They're
must
a bad
not love
parent.
them. Yeah.
Like, no matter what you do, people will find a flaw in it. So I think as a parent, you just have to make the right decision, the best decision for your child. And like, that's
100%.
super cool that you guys have found that for both of your children. I like so respect that. And just getting to know you, even just with the past couple of hours that we've talked, it's just like,
Abby's about to fall
I know
asleep.
that you guys are making
Look at her
like,
face.
really good choices for your children, and it's just
She's
really,
done.
I really respect all of that. And I'm sorry that when you stay silent on
she
something
is
online and you
still
do
gay.
something out of protection for your child, people will find some way to misconstrue it, and that's really
They fill in the story for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it's not their place, they have no idea what's going on in reality. And I think that's...
And people will read those comments, and instead of, like, hearing it from us, they'll just believe what they're hearing. Like, he got a DM the other day, and it was, like, on his personal Instagram. So these people had to, like, go and find him, because we don't, like, put his personal Instagram out there, really.
Yeah.
But they DM'd him, and they were like...
Oh, it's so hard. Let me see. On his personal Instagram. We don't put it out there, so... There you go. Followed by Kayandtaysnark official. That was literally, like, not hard to find. It was the first thing that pops up. And it's his name. I'm sorry you got number 2. You're not the most important, Taylor Dudley. Sucks to suck.
You should have thought about the fact that Kay has a daughter before you married her if you didn't want her in your life. If you didn't want to post her, maybe you should have thought about that before you got married to her mom.
That's dumb.
What?
He's not the reason that she's not in the content. I think you're thinking of her bio dad, because, like, he is totally for her being in the content if she wants to be.
So someone got so frustrated they went all the way to found my
They really
maiden
wanted to
account.
tell him how it was, you know, like, I'm going to let him know that is not a responsible thing to do, to marry somebody with a child and not want them in your content. And I'm just like, that is the biggest misconception, is that we don't.
They weren't even influencers back then. Like, stop. That's so silly. That's
care about
silly.
her.
Yep.
And she knows that's not true. And
That's all that matters.
that's, at the end of the day, that's what matters. She laughs at the hate comments as well.
Yeah.
So
Is that hard?
She laughs at the hate comments. You show your daughter the hate comments. Do I even need to get into why that is disgusting and a problem? She knows I love her. Yeah, except for the first 4 years of her life, you were sporadically in and out of her life. Except when she sees you at her dance recital, all you do is have your nose glued to your phone.
False narrative online, and you know that it's just completely made up. You know that your family knows you and knows your heart, and your friends know you and know your heart, yet there might be something that someone says that's just completely out of left field that doesn't fit at all.
that's the hardest thing, I think, for me, is, like, I want to be like a keyboard warrior. I want to, like, tell them everything. I just want to, like, let it out, like, no, you're wrong because actually, but I can't do that 500 times a day. Like, it's I
couldn't do it. Even if it was your full-time job, you couldn't do
moderate
it.
those comments. And
See, the thing is they could very easily do that. Make one long form video and just spew all your BS lies about whatever you're gonna say or try to justify or try to say. Just do that. One long form video and tell them like it is. You stick it to them. But no, why do it 500 times a day? Make a post about it, for God's sakes. Make a short about it.
Enough to like make that go away. Like
Content.
everybody, there's even other creators that have made videos of us not wanting to post our daughter because for some reason we don't care about her, and people saying, well, I liked them until I realized they had another daughter and they don't post her. And so at a point you just kind of have to block all of that out, because I think, I mean, it really starts to mess with us mentally, even though we know the kind
Again, it's not posting versus not posting. They're completely missing the point. Like, it's so, I don't understand how they don't understand. I don't understand.
Same exact thing. They try to find some sort of controversy in it when it's just like, it's really just as simple as somebody not really wanting to go on social media, because not everybody wants to be a social media
That's
personality.
my entire family now that I think about it.
Yeah.
We love them so much, but I
Yes.
don't really know if
We've never
I
had
don't know.
Abby's parents on the podcast because her parents just don't really want to.
Yeah.
But like my parents are hilarious and they love, my parents love the camera. Like they're like, let's do it. Let's do another
we haven't
podcast.
had my brother.
Yeah.
Like they just don't show up in our content that much. But
Yeah.
we love them dearly. We see them all the time. I like even forget that that's even. Yeah, and we don't think different. You don't think differently of her for not wanting to be in it. It's just
No.
like I think people
Like
just
in baseball or
make
not,
it a
like-
huge deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just everybody has their own opinion on things, and maybe one day she's gonna decide randomly that she wants to be in it, and that's great, and she can be, and we will fully support that. And I think
No, she can't be because her father said no. And I hope it's court ordered that her dad says no, don't show her on content. And honestly, I feel like he also has a standing in her personal profile being public and Kay being on her personal profile, on Kay's, little K being on big K's personal profile, because that's not okay. And if it's court ordered that she not show her daughter, okay. If it's court ordered that she not make money off her daughter, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she has about over 700,000 followers on her personal Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, 711,000 followers on Insta. That's almost 3/4 people to like consuming this content. So for you to be there and be like, oh, if she wants to, she can. If she doesn't, she doesn't. Like, no, you just said her father doesn't want her on social media. So no, it's not a matter of if she wants to, she wants to. And hopefully he can get court ordered to get this freaking, I don't know, get the pictures off. She doesn't want to be in content, so let's post a bunch of old pictures.
everybody will love that because people are so interested in her for some reason.
Yeah.
And well, why are they acting like this is their first pregnancy? And I think that is really what made this big like controversy. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, girl,
people are just obsessed with
at
this
the
whole
end of the
idea.
day, I want to look like you when I have a 12-year-old.
Thank you. Well, I wish I looked like you at 25. So
Oh, stop. Now we're just gonna flatter each other.
Well, Tay is taking their precious baby girl and I think swaddling her right now. But wow, this has been such a great conversation with you guys. I just really appreciate you guys opening up and being vulnerable and sharing your experiences. I'm sure that you just being genuine with your story and saying what you've said, I'm sure it's helped people that are making.
Okay, I'm done. Good job. Not. So, yeah, that was fun. That was fun to watch. Very informative. They lied through their teeth the entire time. It makes me wonder if her ex or his ex have ever come out and said anything about this podcast. I know that after this podcast aired, her ex had received a ton, like thousands of messages surrounding it and people attacking him and people just out for him. But use your critical thinking skills. He has their daughter full time. They might have joint custody, but her primary area of residence and her primary caregiver is her father and has been since the divorce, which happened in August 2019, and they were together by November. That's a pretty quick timeline if you ask me. And for her to sit here and be like, oh yeah, it was April that we got divorced and, you know, we'd been separated. I don't know, maybe she meant it was April that they separated and August they entered in, but she specifically said, no, like we got divorced in April. It's just, I get moving on with your life and moving forward and stuff like that. But I guess what I don't understand is how anyone can take anything they say at face value and believe them. When you look at this podcast and it is very obviously 97% fabricated. It's not hard to pick apart the pieces with actual proof and actual evidence and be like, no. And also, people aren't pissed that you're not showing your daughter. Good. Don't show her. Make your personal Instagram private again. Get your daughter off the internet. She's 12. She said it. She doesn't want her life on display on the internet. And thank goodness she has a solid father who has her back, who's not going to let her mother exploit the living shit out of her on the internet. Too bad for your current baby, though, because both her parents are influencers and she's going to grow up with zero privacy. And by the time she's 12 and says, no, mom, no, dad, I don't want to be on the internet, I don't want to film anymore, it's going to be too late. Her entire life is going to be exposed. She's already going to be bullied and made fun of at this point because her mom is an immature child and her dad is an aggressive a-hole. If she even ends up going to school, God knows they might homeschool her, right? Like they do with every other family vlogger child. It's just mind-blowing to me that people can build a platform, be completely deceitful about it, and when you show their fans the proof of them being deceitful, they're like, oh, well, you're just a hater. Then Matt and Abby like, oh yeah, you lose no matter what. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Again, people aren't angry that you're not showing her. People are angry that you literally pretended she didn't exist. And you built an entire platform pretending that this was your first pregnancy, your first kid, your first everything. That's what people are upset about, not the fact that you have a daughter and don't show her. I mean, some of your crazy stans who have formed very strong parasocial relationships with you and your baby are probably upset that you're not showing your daughter because they also want to know everything and form a deep, loving, caring bond with her too. Yeah, sure. But for the most part, people aren't upset that you're not showing her. People are upset that you lied and were deceitful and continue to lie and be deceitful. And you not having any friends, Kay, her actually saying that she doesn't have any friends is very telling. Recognizing the warning signs and red flags of abuse is crucial for protecting oneself and others. Here are some of the common indicators across different types of abuse: constant criticism, insults, or belittling; controlling behaviors such as monitoring movements or restricting contact with others; manipulative behaviors such as guilt tripping or gaslighting; and low self-esteem or self-worth exhibited by the victim. I don't know about that either. Unexplained injuries, frequent injuries, avoiding, I don't know. I mean, he did like physically try to restrain her. Fear or anxiety around a particular person. Financial abuse, controlling access to finances or resources, stealing money or possessions, pressuring someone to give financial support, or unauthorized use of finances or credit cards. Social isolation, limiting contact with family, friends, or support networks, creating distance between the victim and their loved ones. Discouraging participation in social activities or events. She has no friends. Patterns of violence, a history of violence or aggression in the perpetrator's behavior, escalating violence over time, and justifying or minimizing abusive behavior. I mean, she justified and minimized his abusive behavior towards her in those responses that we saw in the last episode. No, it was me. I did it. I'm the crazy one. I'm the one who was freaking out. He did it to protect me. Ooh, here's something good. If Tay is innocent, why is there such a big gap on social media of her not posting him during the time of the assault? So when I looked into the records, I believe it was on camera, maybe it was after, but the assault charges weren't dropped until a couple months later. So it's very possible that they were told that they had to separate. Otherwise, they were going to be charged with assault. Kind of like what happened in the Gabby Petito case when they got pulled over by the officers. Now, they didn't do a good job, but we're not going to even open up that can of worms. That is old news, dissecting the officers, what they did and stuff like that. But they forced them to separate, and I believe it was so that they didn't get a charge. Oh, and they forced her to say that she didn't actually want to hurt him. But yeah, it's possible that in Alabama they were told to separate, or he really scared her and she left for a while and then dropped the charges and went back to him, probably because, you know, she was in Alabama, 700 miles away from her family and friends and support system. So on Kay's Instagram, exactly around the time of the assault, there is a huge gap of her not posting like she normally does. She did not post Tay at all during this time. When she did rarely post, it was with her daughter. He also did not comment on these posts like he did before. He used to comment on all of her Instagram posts before this. This is not normal. If everything was fine and dandy and she was so proud of him after the assault, there would be no problem continuing to post like normal. Exactly. So something happened and they are severely downplaying it. The fact that they're still together 5 years later, I mean, I don't know. And now they have a kid together and stuff like that. And I mean, he was in Afghanistan, so he probably does have some PTSD and he has some stuff. And especially if they got together and cheated on their partners to get together, it doesn't surprise me that he acts as controlling and domineering as he does, because he has zero trust for her. He got cheated on, allegedly, if that story is true, while he was away in Afghanistan. So you think he's ever going to leave again? No way. She's not allowed to go out with friends. It sounds like when she says that, she's just talking about what's, going on now. Do you know what I mean? So it's ultimately, it's really concerning and it's really scary because there's kids involved, right? And if there is stuff, it very well could be mental health. He was in the military. That's stressful. I don't know. There's something about it that's, I don't know. It's extremely common for victims of abuse to twist the scenario where their abuser didn't actually do anything wrong and justify the behaviors. Maybe she was under some sort of review for the custody battle. Maybe she was told to keep a low profile, and there was a peace bond or temporary restraining order between her and Tay, which they just chose to both not post anything rather than leave breadcrumbs. Then all of a sudden, just before NYE, there's a family photo with Kay Jr. like nothing was wrong. It's so hard to deduce, especially since she scrubbed a lot off of her personal account in December after being called out, and the same for Tay yesterday. He made his account private and did some cleaning and then made it public and squeaky clean. Until we find a breadcrumb or an Easter egg we can read between the lines and share here, then that'll be taken down. Stuff like this always tips me off to something. People are constantly showing their true colors and emotions through actions, such as not posting about each other, more than words. I think her not posting about him is very telling that something serious was going on. I don't know what this person said, but this person responded with, regardless if you're male or female, you can be a sloppy drunk and an overall shitty person. I think we have enough evidence to deduce that neither Kay nor Tay is as sickeningly sweet as they pretend to be and would probably do anything to maintain their online fame. 100%. I don't think she has custody of her. Yeah, they do. They have joint custody, but she's not the primary caregiver. Here's something. Why does Taylor do everything with Kay? When she goes to get her nails done, haircut, we never see her alone. Tay is supervising her every move. Red flag. Because either doesn't trust her to be independent or he refuses to allow her to be independent, wondering if she has Stockholm Syndrome. Yep, I agree. It's like she's never out of his sight. This has been going on way before the baby came. My gut feeling is that Tay came into her life with narcissistic love bombing and presented himself as everything her ex wasn't. Then the abuse from Tay came on slowly and subtly. She didn't even notice. She may not even notice now. It seems like she went straight from her ex-husband to Tay. So Tay may very well have played up the savior role. He definitely has a savior complex until he had their own marriage inked. Yikes. I mean, yeah. Or maybe she was the abusive one and needs to look in the mirror, which may explain all the times Tay surprises K and E looking in the mirror. They are so off. All of this. I don't understand that thing. I don't know. I mean, that's a possibility. And she says that he took the fall for her because she was being crazy and losing it and trying to leave and drive away in the car and stuff like that. So,
which would make sense if they were in the midst of trying to fight for sole custody. An arrest for DV on mom wouldn't look very good. And where the custody battle is going on, they focus primarily on the biological parent versus the couple, the household ECT.
But then you still falsified like police statements and records, and that's not good to admit either. Obviously, this is all speculation and just my personal opinion, but he's probably afraid she'll slip and say something that will indicate the abuse, or just straight up tell someone and try to escape. He's with her all the time, so he can control everything at all times. Tell me why I was just thinking this. Like, what if she's hoping someone sees it? What if on the inside she's like, oh my God, people are noticing? Maybe she's putting on an act to keep herself safe. I'm literally just dabbling in speculation here, but I did think this too. See, and it's just, and the fact that obviously we don't want to perpetuate harmful rumors, right? But the fact that he got arrested, he got charged, he spent 24 hours in jail, all these little things, and the charges didn't get dropped until quite a few months later. If you put everything together, I don't think it's insane that people are like, whoa, what's going on? What's wrong here? And looking at the various red flags, because it's important to also provide proper information to people who are in abusive relationships, to know that like it's not okay to be treated this way or that way. It's not okay for your partner to be completely controlling. It's not okay for you not to be allowed to go anywhere or get out or go hang out with friends or have friends, for goodness sakes, or talk to friends. That's not okay. That's not a secure, healthy relationship. I don't know. Ever since someone pointed this out, I've found it really unsettling. We never see her filming herself doing a quick get ready with me on stories with all the products she has, or chatting in the car while out running errands by herself, or just hanging out alone with her baby. Come to think of it, have we ever seen her drive? Maybe they just have one car for whatever reason, but it's still weird that she never ever drives. Does she have a bunch of DUIs or something to get her license revoked? Was there an incident with her medication? I feel before they moved, she would do things alone. She filmed something, she worked, she dressed different, she drove. Once they moved, they got a new car, she got pregnant, started dressing different, and stopped driving. She left her job, I thought, to do content, but doesn't film the content at all on her own. She's just in the content versus both of them previously. So maybe he's exploiting her, because she obviously rakes in the views. Why are the mom and daughter glammed up and he's messy hair and in a white t-shirt? Legit. Okay, I don't care. So quickly before we close up, I am going to go through this because I think it's really, really important, especially given what we're talking about in this video. Domestic and intimate partner violence resources. Folks, in light of the allegations, documents, and information obtained through public channels, the MOD team finds it necessary to speak out. The information provided by court records is not something to take lightly, especially when doing so puts real people at risk. Domestic and intimate partner violence affects 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in the United States. Similar statistics can be applied to other regions as well. Under no circumstances is anyone but the abuser to blame for their actions. They are the ones responsible for their actions. There is no taking the fall when committing acts of violence. When you are in the thick of an abusive and manipulative relationship, it is so hard to recognize the signs and even harder to make plans to leave. Love bombing and gaslighting are very common tactics by abusers. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic or intimate partner violence, know you are not alone. You aren't alone. You are worthy of loving, supportive, and safe relationships and environments. None of this is your fault, and you are surviving, and you can get out. Here are some resources the MOD team has compiled. International Domestic and Intimate Partner Violence Resource, including phone numbers, U.S. Domestic Violence Hotline and live chat, U.S. legal resources, shelters and accommodations in the U.S., further reading on intimate, and then some stats on intimate partner violence. And I will link all of these as well as this link in the description box down below. Ultimately, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't know what happened that night, following that night, But there are definitely some real red flags to be aware of, to look out for, and to look out for in your own relationship. Please remember, these people show the highlight reels. It's not real life. It's not normal. Normal couples don't act like this, and you do not have to act this way to be in a healthy relationship, a healthy, loving relationship. Your partner doesn't need to buy you a $160,000 ring to prove that he loves you. Your partner doesn't have to constantly love bomb you to prove his love to you. Please, please keep yourself safe and understand the red flags and that it's not your fault. It's never your fault. It is always the abuser's fault. And they try really hard to make you think like it's your fault. But it's not. I promise you. And you can get out. And please, please do so safely. Take a look at these resources. Tell someone you trust. Reach out. You're not alone. Whew. This was a bit of a hot and heavy one. We had a few laughs in the middle. But this is a bit of a concerning one, a bit of a triggering one. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of people had come to me saying, hey, you should watch the Unplanned podcast. That's where they released a bunch of information, a bunch of details and stuff like that. It's a good watch. And it was very, very informative about the beginnings of their relationship. And now that we know what we know, a couple months later, we can poke holes in all of the lies. And there's legal documentation to back it up. She was not a single mother at 22. She was a 22-year-old with a kid who was well taken care of by their father. She ran off with this new guy and saw her daughter every once in a while, took the opportunity to post an Instagram pic, and that was it. And that little girl is going to grow up and know that one day. She'll see it. Sure, she might, when she goes and sees mom, she gets spoiled. She gets all the things she could ever need, ever want in her life. But that's not what a kid needs. Especially a little girl. I do hope they grow up and do better. But patterns of behavior over time tell us that that's not going to happen. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. This is a really important one to talk about. It's uncomfortable, it's scary and upsetting and triggering and icky, but it's so important to talk about this because it is something that isn't talked about. And I think that abuse behind the highlight reels is very, very common. Abuse and manipulation, especially when fame. These are just normal people who got super famous really fast, came into a lot of money really fast, and that's never good. It's never a good thing. Before you go though, guys, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps boost these videos into the algorithm. It really helps my channel to grow and thrive, and it helps me stay here and continue doing this. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.